welcome to tonight's coverage of Moonshiners Racing League as the OB Builders Cup Series looks to rumble from Kansas. Tonight, we're happy to have you with us for this evening's coverage for the Corridor Automotive 300 as we continue the playoffs to see who moves on in the round of 12 to the battle between the top 8 drivers in a couple weeks' time. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me is Jeremy Miller. DJ Lyon is our producer. Easy Cameras brought by Whiplash Simcams here on the Precision Production Network as we get ready for a busy night ahead of us here for this one, Jeremy. We're at Kansas, which has provided some close finishes as of late in real life. But tonight, these competitors look to rumble for 300 miles.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty intense race. Kansas is a really awesome racetrack, some really high-quality side-by-side racing throughout the field is what we're expecting tonight, but moving through these playoffs, one last race of an oval on this round. Next week's a road course where most drivers are going to feel pretty uncomfortable, so you got to get that win tonight if you're looking a little rough on that cut line.
Absolutely, and it's going to make things very interesting by the time we get to the Roval next week for said cut line. Already, Matt Cox has locked himself in with the victory to the next round of the postseason. The cut line, very interesting though. Corey Moore and Paul Gallimore up by 9. Brendan Fennerplace up by 5, but Shane Wyatt by just 1 here, Jeremy. You have Chris Davis and Barry Sanders Jr. the closest to an opportunity to try and battle for the cut line. It is relatively tight for some of these drivers where they cannot afford a mistake tonight.
I mean, these guys all are guys that can go out there and win tonight. You know, some more than others find themselves at the front of these packs, but these are all fast race car drivers that if the cards fall their way, they end up on the right strategy or right position on a late restart, they can all get it done. So this could really change in a hurry for those guys around that cut line.
It's going to make things all the more interesting here tonight from Kansas Speedway as we get ourselves ready to go for tonight. So as these drivers get themselves prepared for this evening's action, what are some of the expectations here you have? We still have a few minutes before we get to the end of qualifying. How would you drive this racetrack with how this circuit fares out? We've seen a lot in the league scene as of the past week or so where the bottom of the racetrack has been the most preferred by many of the competitors.
Yeah, it really just depends on what your car is going to be built to do, how it's handling, and where those tires are wearing. iRacing, a lot of times you'll find that you're going to wear a lot more tire up top, especially at Kansas. Typically, you've historically built really loose running up there. So if you're struggling with the back end of the race car, you might have to find yourself around the bottom to get more comfortable. But I've even had races here where that middle groove comes in and is the fastest way around this track. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the rubber lays down and the night progresses and whose car set up the best to be good on the long haul.
It's going to make things all the more interesting here. We do have a 26-car field, by the way, tonight. Most of the field has put up qualifying laps out of those who look like they were going to attempt the session. It's worth noting your race winner last time out, Matt Cox, has set a racetrack record 3 minutes and 53-second qualifying time. Part of the session. He's really been putting in the effort tonight at the qualifying runs, but it seems like he wants to have a challenge here, to say the very least. That would put him 17th for now, it looks like, for most drivers. But who do you think stands out the most tonight, potentially, to try and break through and punch their ticket to the playoffs for the next round, should say?
I mean, you got to look at the guys who have consistently, week in, week out, been really good. Bikey right now on the provisional pole, been really good on ovals all year, has got quite a good gap on that single lap speed, so it could look for him to be a real contender here tonight and see if he can stretch out a nice early lead and dominate.
So, qualifying just came to a close in session. So we'll see where the drivers fare out tonight in the battle to pick up an all-about sheet metal pole award. And that award had been dominated coming into tonight by Alex Coffey with the 14 poles. It is not him tonight who will get the AASM pole award. That will go to Brendan Bikey. Barry Sanders starts in second spot tonight. Difference just under a 10th. Shane Wyatt qualifies well. He needed a good run. He gets a good run to start off. Fennerplace start in the 4th position. Fifth position goes to Sean Rogers tonight. Alex Coffey will start next to him. Coffey 2/10 off the pole time here at Kansas. Row number 4, that's Nigel Christensen. Chris Davis will start in the 8th position here tonight. Rounding your top 10 are going to be Blaine Wilson and Tim Wortman Jr. starts 10th, Jeremy.
Starting off in the 11th position tonight is going to be Paul Gallimore in that 11 car. Corey Moore with a pretty solid qualifying effort finds him and P12 in that 19 machine. Rolling off 13th is going to be Nick King in the 12, and Tim Harper qualifies 14th in that green and white 42 car. 15th position starter tonight is going to be Johnny Shade in the 45. Kevin Ruff in the 14 qualifies 16th. Looks like he had a bit of an error on his lap. And the last driver set a time tonight, Matt Cox, set a several-minute lap time just rolling around there. And then Shane Davis set on iRacing will start 18th tonight. And the final row round out the top 20 will be Aaron Matthews in 19th and Warren Young in 20th.
21st goes to Wade Kyle Holden. Brian Curry starts 22nd. That's going to run to the official orders because a couple drivers aren't in session. Victor Pfluger also going to be up there in the order. You have Nicholas Atwood, Ryan Huff. And the reason things are shuffled is because Warren Young originally was set to be 20th, is not in session at the moment. So, looks like we'll have 25 strong for the green flag tonight. Your keys to victory, Jeremy, for this evening as the field will pace for a couple laps.
Yeah, I mean, we see it at Kansas in real life all the time. It's going to be restarts. How many positions can you make up? Can you retain your track position on those restarts where it gets really wild here at Kansas? Put yourself in the best position to have as much clean air as possible when the runs are settling. And okay, almost just had some contact with pit road right there. So don't wreck the race car on the pace laps, Justin. That's another key to victory.
Yeah, that's a good way to get yourself out of contention, is a crash with a pace car. By the way, our stages just got confirmation, 45 and 90 tonight. So quick first 2 stages here on the distance. It's going to be that 3rd stage. That'll be the big question mark to be able to get yourself some fuel mileage for the long run. The AASM pole award winner, Brennan Bikey, once again picks up the pole tonight. For Brennan Bikey, it's just his 2nd this season, Jeremy. Interesting for the BMP machine to be able to control things up at the front of the field, who's had speed all season.
Yeah, it's definitely not like the most surprising thing that he's on pole if you follow the series and follow him across him really fast, but just hasn't really had that great of qualifying success so far this season. So we'll see what he can do with it up front early here. And you know, I think back to Dover, a race where he was up front a lot and really dominated. Obviously not the same type of track as Kansas, but can show flashes of those dominance on some of the looser, higher tire wear ovals.
So we'll see where the temperatures lie by the end of the night as well. It is a hot racetrack, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 77 your air temperature to start things off here from Kansas. So once again, happy with this for tonight's action. The Corridor Automotive 300. These drivers will have a busy time to see who comes out on top here in this one. Welcome to the Simrat Market start zone to see where things shake out early. Short run speeds, you see the bottom of the racetrack come in. A few drivers were testing the 2nd and 3rd grooves in 3 and 4 specifically. Potential chaos could reign out of turn 4. I've been happy with us here on the Precision Production Network for tonight's coverage as we are all set to go. Pace car is off, green flag in hand. We're underway from Kansas. And we're crashing. Well, that start didn't even make it to the start and finish line. Half the field gets collected. Barry Sanders destroyed. And that was not a fast run. Shane Wyatt bobbled off the bottom as they were bumping and banging, and a lot of people made contact.
Yeah, some drivers really piled in there in the back. I think some drivers really far back there in the pack just couldn't see anything. I don't know how much smoke there really was when it first started. Obviously, nobody was calling it out, and spotters don't really work until you take the green flag on iRacing, which is what can lead to these wrecks being so big. We'll take a look on the RS Button Boxes replay from Paul Gallimore here. They just stacked up and wrecked in front of them, Justin.
Gallimore Picks up contact coming off of Fenner Place on his part of the spin. Nearly part of the C's, but instead, it's Muncie Many picking up contact. But Shane Wyatt again was the spark here. Just veered right. I can't tell if it was because of the bump from behind or if he just spun the tires.
Yeah, we would need to take a look at that from maybe the front of the 44, Sean Rogers, see if he got into the back of that 23 a little too aggressively, but see if this should be a better angle here. Take a look at that, and yeah, he see that he's just pushing on the right rear. You can't do that with these race cars, and it hooked Shane Wyatt to the outside lane and triggered that crash.
And it's caused a lot of chaos as a result of the situation as spotters try and sort out the situation. Here's the 44. Bumping, and bam, around goes the field.
Yeah, the 23 went around after he got off the bumper of the 44, but I think it just kind of jacked up the rear just enough that got those tires spinning, and Shane Wyatt just fell behind that steering. We'll see on board from Alex Coffey here. We know that the drivers in front of him got caught up in as the 23 veered up the racetrack. You see just under him there, 23 gets loose. He has a little bit of light contact on the front of that car and then some heavier contact on the right front. But iRacing netcode buffed out a little bit. Coffey might have gotten away pretty lucky right here.
Yeah, no visible front end damage on his machine. Fenner Place, not so much. Has damage to the back, has damage to the front. Right here, picks up the door damage that gets hooked in front of the pack. He did pick up a hit from Coffey. They got slammed a couple times over. He's one of the many spending extended time down pit road right now, currently.
Yeah, I see Barry Sanders, outside pole sitter down there on pit road repairs. He was the driver around that cut line. Justin needed a good race tonight. This is not what he wanted to start his Kansas race, but he wanted to start at Chicago earlier this season, so, you know, don't count him out just yet. Going to the Roval next week, he can definitely make a rally out even if he doesn't recover from this tonight.
Yeah, so we'll see where things shape up. Aaron Matthews amongst the many who did not come back down pit road. Timothy Harper, Shane Davis, Paul Gallimore, Victor Pfluger, Barry Sanders, better place, and Wortman Jr. also came in. Nigel Christensen's also come back down a second time. So just like that here, half your field has already had to come down for some sort of repairs here, Jeremy. And one of the drivers involved in the incident will start on the front row, the 44.
Sean Rogers going to be on the bottom. I mean, you know, Sean was just trying to push his line there. Obviously nothing ill-intended, just an unfortunate situation. Just got on a little offset and it got that 23 loose. This is a hot, slick racetrack, and you just got to be careful in those restarts. I'm sure the 23 maybe could have been a little more careful at the throttle as well with somebody on his back bumper, but obviously not anticipating that when you're driving that race car if you're going to get hit that hard.
So let's find out how this tries again. We're coming up to the Sim-Wrap Market restart zone. Brennan biking control. Sean Rogers didn't even line up. All of a sudden, Bikey with a big advantage. Chris Davis with a chance to peel up to second as the 44 never lined up even with the front row.
Yeah, Rogers sleeping there on that one. That's going to let Chris Davis hang on that right side of that race car here up off of turn 2. Going to be pretty even here down the back straightaway. We'll see if Sean Rogers can clear down here in turn 3 if that 74 is going to hang tough. Rogers going to push us a little bit up off that white line. Bobbles right now. They're stacking up though, and that's going to get Coffey all over them. He's going to look for a way around for second.
Still not around for that spot yet. All this is while Bikey runs the bottom of the racetrack. Davis doesn't have that short distance around and will now lose spots. Of note, Greg Carr has just reported technical issues, has said he has lost communications in the car, so the 25 is having some issues with his machine. Something to note for one of the drivers in the middle of the pack that could be having some issues with the spotters as the night goes on, as Coffey has now indeed taken third and Chris Davis cannot find a rhythm here.
See on down here down the backstretch, Cabin Ruff's found his way in the fourth pretty quickly here on this restart. So Ruff's a driver we see really good on the short runs quite often. This is a track that can benefit you to get the right situations. Not a great arrow situation right there where he's going to push up off that corner, lose the momentum here, headed down the front straightaway. There's still single file in front of him for that battle for the lead.
Nobody able to get to the inside of the race leader yet because, well, any lower and you're on the apron. Matt Cox this time loses ground to one of the Fords. That is Ryan Huff in the 24 machine. And this is to be expected here. It is turning into a bit of a harder place to pass here unless you can peel to the bottom. Just had that happen. Cabin Ruff found a place to dive underneath, and he's had some good straight races lately in the Warrior Racing car. He just took third, Ruff did.
Good move there on Coffee, clears him on exit. Coffee was pretty tight on that right rear, trying to pinch him down, but Ruff was able just to power through off that corner and establish himself into this position now, and got some good positive momentum rolling forward here off of turn 4 as well, as he's got Sean Rogers and Bikey in his sights.
Oh, some of the others in the back of the field scattering about by the way. Shane Wyatt, relatively clean race car out to the contact. He is second out of those that are involved in the lap 1 incident. And we know Wyatt cannot afford any other mistakes here. He needs to find all these spots here. He's going to try and attack Aaron Matthews, who did not get the repairs done on the car.
And this should be a pretty easy position for Wyatt. As a result of that, you'll see he's just about clear the 5 here. He'll get clear now, and the 5 is going to drop back behind as well now, as that's Corey Moore looking on the inside of him now. So Matthews considering continuing the drop through the field here. Warman Jr. trying to pile in behind Corey Moore as well. Can be really tight to that 19's bumper, but and there's a whole line of cars right now that are going to drive by Aaron Matthews.
Yeah, that front nose is just destroyed on the 5 machine. Going to be struggling the entire run here. It's causing a bottleneck, actually. Up front, things are changing, by the way, for second. Cabin Ruff has to run inside. Right now, Ruff is a 10th of a second quicker than the race leader. The quickest car in the pack right now is Matt Cox, but Cabin Ruff is the 3rd quickest out of the last time by. This time by, tries to make the pass, put up a time quicker than the leader again. That 14's got speed, and now all of a sudden, Bikey might lose the outside here as Rogers got the pole.
Run there out of 44. He's going to look just a little bit shaded left here onto the entrance of 3. Nothing to it though. Bikey with a pretty deep entrance to that corner, and the clean air just lets him stick so much better than the car following behind him, even with that harsher entry speed. So he's going to continue to pull that gap again right here. It's what makes passing so hard in this race car. The wake behind it is just so difficult to navigate through if you're at trailing race car, and that's, if you can get your car set up just right to turn really well when you're behind somebody, it's really where you're going to find a lot of speed throughout the course of a race. But we got a lot of cars right now early in this run that seem to be right on top of each other in terms of pace.
Absolutely. Seeing how things shuffle for now, but Bikey still controls the clean air. Huff also amongst those who has a Renko power plant underneath them in the Warrior car. Oh, this looks a little tight. Luckily got out of the gas, and it's going to have to be a careful time for some of these drivers because Matt Cox seems to be amongst those looking comfortable no matter the line. And that 32 has gained 11 spots so far. Huff, mind you, up 18.
Yeah, pretty good start for him. Obviously, that initial wreck getting through, that's going to help you pick up a lot of those spots really quickly, as you see with almost anybody that's picked up all these spots so far here in this race. But you also see with all that green, a lot of red. Drivers that were caught up in that incident early, fighting the back of the pack with damage, struggling right now.
A lot of these drivers battling. A little bit of a loose moment. Bikey out of the lead. The 27 drops out of the top spot. Bikey got loose, had some contact from his teammate Rogers, And now Cabin Rough leads from that spot. 27 Bikey to 7.
Take another look at an RS Button Boxes replay here. You see the 27 and Bikey. Pretty good gap to the 44. Just gets really loose, and as that 44 gets closer to that bumper, it just gets looser and looser as there's less air to lean on for that back of the race car, and it just about comes around on him. 44 Sean Rogers does a great job to avoid his teammate, though. Make sure there's no further incident other than the slide for the 27, but those rear tires are going to be upset now. He needs to settle back in, just take care of his stuff, and let that car come back to him.
Absolutely, and now Bikey in a bad spot. Matt Cox in a good one. He's looking for fourth. He got loose. Seems like the rear tires are starting to wear out here. So how do you try and set the balance of these cars here to make sure you don't cook that rear? Because it seems like a lot of people are starting to get snappy out, and it's only been 18, 19 laps of the run.
I mean, you're loose right now. You're just going to keep getting looser if you're driving it on that right rear tire. You got to start to lean a little bit harder on your fronts and try to balance that car out. The issue there, though, is if you start to lean too hard on that right front, you'll get really tight, and it can be a lot harder to make speed when you're tight than when you are loose. You can kind of get away with being loose as long as you're keeping it straight, but when you're tight, there's just really nothing you can do behind the wheel of a race car to make it go fast.
Seeing that right now. Again, a swap back, again a pass back. Humphrey takes a spot, and Huff is preferring the second groove. Fine clean air compared to Matt Cox on the bottom. 20 laps in the books this time through. Take a look at some of the others. Kyle Holden. He's driving one of the breast cancer awareness paint schemes. Of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month starting off. He is dealing with front nose damage. Hasn't stopped him, though, as a bit of wall contact for Johnny Shade behind him.
Yeah, Shade just carried that exit a little bit too high. Yeah, I think it was Kansas earlier this season, Justin, when we were watching the race, where they were hitting the wall all night long. I mean, I think each driver in the field will almost probably hit it double-digit times. So that's the first time we've really seen it so far tonight. And we're seeing a lot of loose conditions, so maybe we won't see as much of that tonight. But that could be a trend as we move into longer runs here. Drivers just put, as we have a caution on the racetrack, wreck out of, oh, it's Bikey. Bikey in the wall hard off turn 2.
Timothy Harthover also involved in the back of the field. We're under caution as let's take a look. What may have sparked this? Bikey letting cars go, has damage. Harper was the back end of the field. Can't confirm that. I think it was actually Harper with Bikey hitting somebody. Bikey picked up damage after checking up for this.
Oh. Yep. RS Button Boxes replay here. Tim just went around there and saw Sean Rogers on the apron there. Bikey overcorrects up into the outside wall, and everybody just scattering in behind right here to make sure they're not caught up in that. I don't see too much right front damage there on the 27, though, for how hard that contact looked. As we'll take a look on board with him, see what he saw as that event took place.
Yeah, watch the outside line going to be clogged up with the 42. See Cox having to get out of the gas to avoid contact. Bikey just shoots right, bounced off of the fender, and now his right front have to come down for some damage repair. And this caution will also likely mean a lot of tire changes. Again, their look from Harper.
Yeah, I wonder if Harper had some wheel damage or something contributing to this from the earlier incident. I mean, obviously way off the pack, running on his own, off the pace here. We know, yeah, he's a better race car driver than that. Almost backed down in the traffic there, which could have been really, really bad. But just do have to wonder if there was something that contributed to that wreck other than just an ill-handling race car with some damage, possibly a bent toe link somewhere on that machine.
So pit stop time for the field. Well, some of the drivers, interestingly enough, about half the field coming down, half of the field not. So a lot of competitors rolling the dice with the tire set situation, possibly. As you would expect, Bikey stays down pit road, first on off. Chris Davis, Victor Fluger, Matt Cox. So what do you feel about the tire strategy choice here for some of these drivers to hold on to a set?
Yeah, I think if you're in the playoff spot here, it makes sense to hold on to a set right now. Just to make sure you have it later in the race when you definitely need it if the situation arises versus taking the gamble right now. Now, a lot of these guys on pit road, I don't think are taking tires, just doing that damage repair. But for the few that took tires, it's an aggressive call. And I think you mentioned Chris Davis, one of them. He's going out, going to try to get some stage points with that call. So he's looking to point his way into the next round is what that tells me. And, you know, if it falls the right way, it's a call that could greatly benefit that cause.
It's going to be a curious time as we get ready to see what happens with the second half of first stage action here. Mikey didn't get the fender fully fixed on his car after staying in pit road, but it's going to be Gavin Ruff and Sean Rogers up at the point now. Coffee and Huff, Kane and Holden, Shade, and alongside him will be Wilson, Wortman Jr., and more. The top 10, Carr and Davis. Be alongside Chris Davis, starting 12th after the pit stop. Gonna be curious where the speed difference comes into play here tonight, especially with this tire set difference. This gonna be a gamble for everybody who just stayed out here.
Yeah, definitely going to be a bit of a gamble for them as well, as they're going to be getting eaten up by those fresher tires. The cars with fresher tires, it's allowing them to be a little more liberal in their line choices as well, be able to kind of slice and dice their way through the pack here and go where they aren't to make those passes with that extra grip. That'll be enough of a speed advantage to make those different lines work for them. So we'll see who can do that the best and get through the pack the quickest here.
Simrat marking a restart zone. Green flag is out. Back on the way. Gavin Ruff leads them down at the bottom of the racetrack. Coffee going for the lead. He's going to try it on the outside. It's been difficult to do that here tonight. We're going to make the difficult very possible. Coffee trying to fight. Oh, wow. Everyone else battles around the bottom for the most part.
Really strong restart by Coffee, gives him the opportunity to grab that right rear of the 14 here and pull him back a little. But Gavin Ruff, not in the playoffs. He's not racing for anything other than pride and wins right now, so he's a disruptor out here. He's just looking out for himself, and he's going to fight hard, tooth and nail to every position. And that's what you're seeing with this battle of Coffee. They're still side by side for the lead in front of Sean Rogers.
Still not done yet as you see Davis making up spots. Still side by side for the lead. Ruff taking the apron, so is Coffee. That time through, Edge still went to Gavin Ruff for 11 laps led, but the dig car, Alex Coffee, nearly clear. Matt Cox sets the fastest lap of the race while on newer tires up to 6th.
Yeah, Cox won a week ago, so he's just looking for the playoff point out of winning the stage. That'll help him in the next round at this point is probably what his call is here. And he's coming through that field really quickly. Purple last lap, just made the pass on the outside of Ruff for P4, as you see in the background there, as there's 3 in a row for the lead, and he'll be trying to catch those guys in a hurry after he gets off of turn 2.
You see that right now. Oh, some wall scrapes. Rogers lost a lot of ground from it.
They're wrecking down the back.
Here we go.
He's on the apron.
Paul Gallen, we're also down there. No caution flag. We stay green. It's the 5. Gets rolling down on the apron. It's not been a good night for him at all so far. Not done up front. Coffee is clear, and Ruff is loose.
Great save there by the 14 of Gavin Ruff. Caught the wall just a little, but he could have been far worse for him. He'll lose all of that track position he worked so hard to gain, though. But his race car is okay. He'll be okay to get back going. He has a caution scheduled in just a few laps. He needs to get to now, but here comes Cox to the inside of Coffee for the lead, Justin.
Side by side for the point, and the new tires, no surprise. 32 of Cox takes over the race lead. That fresher rubber was 3/10 quicker last time by. It is very distinguishable, that difference on the rubber. In fact, he, along with Chris Davis, are fast. The difference is Davis couldn't get through the traffic as quick. Chris Davis is still marred in traffic on his new tires.
Yeah, his call's not quite working out quite as he would have wished there in that 74 machine. Still moving forward with some positive progress, but not quite what he needed. That call was an aggressive call. He needs to get all the points he can out of it right now. I think he would call 6th place a failure for what he wants. He needs to go past a few more race cars.
Looking right now at some of the drivers in the middle of the field. This includes drivers like Atwood making the start tonight. Tim Ortman Jr. takes a 3 wide to the outside. 83 machine. Once drivers have got some early knockouts with the postseason. He's had speed parts of the season. His Warrior Racing machine hasn't been able to do much as of late, though. So on the drivers, that was in the heart of the Hornets' nest for some of the incidents early on. But the 83 just looking to vibe and survive here, to say the least.
Yeah, it's just so consistent all season long and just couldn't find that when the playoffs started up, unfortunately for him. So now he's just got to go back, try to get back in form, and you're just chasing a checkered flag at this point. So that's all really is out there for you at this point. Maybe help some of your teammates along the way, but Tim deserves to win a race, and he's still looking to do that here as we are rounding out this season.
Ryan Huff, meanwhile, holds on 10th spot. It's one of the drivers on older tires. Andrew Christensen is actually making the pass on the high side on him. Shane Wyatt looking to do the same. Before that pit call situation, he was having a solid night, and now he's lost all the chances of the track position. As now it's on the stage points here. It's coming around 10 to go in the stage coming through. Shane Wyatt up inside the top 10 if he can clear by a teammate near contact.
Oh, King loose right there in front of them. He's going to look to the inside of that. 12's going to get enough momentum rolling back forward. That's going to really hurt Wyatt. That's going to get Christensen back even on his outside now. The King's going to go run that third lane. They're running 3 different lines through his corner. We'll see if they come out here 3 wide. No, it looks like that 12's going to stay just ahead. So still side by side between the 20 and the 23. Wyatt looking for a way to finish this pass. Can't do it just yet.
Looks like he will complete it this time, just about. Didn't have the opportunity to clear, though. Would have been contact. So the 2 teammates will continue to squabble for now. All of this is being said. Some of the rubber buildup is allowing drivers to search around. Ryan King, one of the examples on the outside. Some of the errors you see here are now taking wider arcs to be able to go, and that second groove has been working its way in. Wayne Wilson proving you can drive with a multi-groove in 3 and 4. So competitors are searching for grip here, Jeremy. It's not as simple as paint the white line like it was at the start.
Yeah, I think they'll find grip, you know, in some places. It's just how long will that grip be there, and will it have a negative effect on you beyond the immediate benefit? I think a lot of the times, you see right there, 2 cars in front of Atwood here kind of on that seam. There's some grip to be found in that seam here typically. It's a pretty slept on line, especially down there in 3 and 4. So you saw some pretty good runs right there in front of him by the 2 cars doing that, and that's Holden and Wilson. So maybe they're starting to find that grip. These both ends of the racetrack now, those cars go to the middle, as Atwood's still committed to that white line on the bottom, as we saw some cars further back as well running the wall. So they're all over the track right now.
It should lead to some interesting results later. Paul Gallimore, meanwhile, trying to attack Brandon Feder, plays outside stage points. The Team Arrow machine moves up. The MP machine moves up a spot. And Gallimore been able to get the car fixed up from the early chaos. Has had a couple moments according to that first lap caution flag. But since then, decent speed. He's one of the drivers that did pit for tires during the last caution flag.
Yeah, he's trying to make those work for him right now. Just hasn't quite found his way through the field. quite as quickly as he would like as well. You got by Christensen there. Not Christensen slow down the front straightaway. That time loses a few positions. That now puts Gallimore in a spot where this is for a point, and he's going to look to the inside of King to try to pick up that position and earn that stage point here. And he's clear of that 12 car here down the back straightaway.
Nicely done, but has already lost ground a little bit to the next pack. It's going to be 1 second to get there. Not really enough time with the stage. By the way, for those curious, the lead is almost 2 seconds. Matt Cox, Chris Davis driven his way to second. Blaine Wilson is one of the drivers that had to get repairs done here with the caution flag. Still looking to make the moves. So most of the drivers who took tires couldn't make any ground up, except for the top two. That is interesting.
Yeah, that's huge for Davis that he was able to get to that position. We saw him struggle earlier in the run to make those passes, but he made those tires work over the course of the run. Going to get some really important points right now towards that cut line battle for himself, as Cox up there is just looking untouchable this run with those fresher tires. He's driven away from the entire field.
We'll see as they zip through. Coming up to 2 to go on the stage. 2 laps to go on stage 1 should be here. It's Blaine Wilson now up in the top 5, getting around Rogers. Surprising, Kyle Holden's been able to drive up to 4th, by the way, with the front nose damage. Just shows a lot about the speed in that 88. To what he's done. Nicholas Atwood knocking some walls down for a moment. Looks for the move on the 23. Nothing doing. Coming up to 1 to go on the stage.
Yeah, Wyatt's going to fight for everything to hold that position, but out front here, this 32 machine Matt Cox just in a league of his own. And even since we last talked about it, he's gapped another 4/10 of a second to Chris Davis, who's on even tires. So 32 cars looking really fast right now, and if I was the rest of the competition, I would not want him to have this track position again tonight.
Coming through to 3 and 4, Matt Cox putting on a clinic tonight. Ends up dominating stage 1. Stage 1 goes to the 32. Davis, Coffey, Holden, Wilson, Rogers, Wortman Jr., Wyatt, Gallimore, Atwood for your top 10. Not a bad run for the 91 who's had a horrific season, but it's been a great night for the 32 machine. Absolutely flying here in the Corridor Automotive 300. Take a step aside. We come back. More action. You're watching tonight's action on the Precision Production Network from Kansas. Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's coverage here of the Precision Production Network for the Corridor Automotive 300. Just Prince Jeremy Miller with you, with DJ Lyon producing. Chris Davis won the race off pit road with a two-tire call. It was the entire field's decision maker on that. Everybody else took 4. Matt Cox, Kyle Holden, Alex Coffey, Blaine Wilson amongst the top 5 here for the restart, it looks like. So it's an interesting play by the 74 to save a set of left sides and gets him one extra spot here to control the field, Jeremy.
He's going to be fighting a little bit of an ill-handling race car compared to his competition here in all likelihood with that call. But you know the old adage, you follow the leader, you're going to follow the leader. So he's trying to do something different here and see if it can work out for himself, as we got another 40 laps to go until the end of this stage. Maybe he can hold them off.
Green flag is out, backing away for the sim round mark in the restart zone. Matt Cox losing a little bit of ground from the outside start. They'll make the way on through again, racing to about lap 90 in the stage this time through. Again, shouldn't expect green flag stops, and look at this. Big run, Matt Cox from the outside. The two-tire play does not work at all. Immediately shuffle to third.
And the bigger problem now is you're not even going to have that clean air to lean on to try to make up for that disadvantage. It's only going to be worse in traffic for that 74 car. So the aggressive call in the first stage, take tires, benefited him a net 9 points. This call, though, going in the wrong direction so far to start this stage.
Now we'll have to see if there's going to be an adjustment back later on. Oh, wow. Calvin Ruff. Here, contact with Fenner Place. That's for 8th and 9th for a moment. No, Ruff's got speed here. Pick off spots. 3 wide to get around the 74. Nearly 4 wide.
After some of that Kansas restart action, Kyle Holden out there, P2, just ran the fastest lap of the race as he's on the back bumper of our leader, but Chris Davis still going backwards. You got one in the wall in the background there, stuck in it, still can't get out of the fence. Still, whole straightaway, he has jugged across that wall. It's going to absolutely destroy the race car. You see, that's Fluger in the 80s going to get down to the inside now. I think that this car might be pretty broken for him.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Fluger getting shuffled. Oh, and Nigel Christensen hit the apron, pushes Fluger to the wall. You see on the replay. And absolute trouble for the 80, and this is why. And Louis Sticker's machine is already made its way to pit road.
Yeah, that right rear hit a ton. Meanwhile, you see right here, Shane Davis just went around his brother, Chris Davis. That's outside of the top 10. So that 74 has already dropped all the way to P12. Christensen, who we just saw had that contact in that replay a moment ago, he's going to work his way to the inside of Chris Davis now. Doesn't quite get alongside on entry, though that 74 holds okay in this corner through the middle, but dropping really quickly, anchor out the back of that machine after that two-tire call.
All this is with Roberts like Nick King, trying to make up some lost ground. He was amongst those who took some extra time down pit road to get some repairs done on his Warrior machine. It's not been a pretty season for Nick. He's had some struggles, and tonight it's been kind of stuck around the teens to the edge of the top 10 tonight. Trying to make up a lot of ground. Your thoughts on Nick King's season as we see up front? Things line up behind the 44. They've almost lost a full second, Jeremy, more importantly, to your top runners.
Kevin Ruff there in the 14 behind Rogers. Kevin Ruff's a driver who's been really good on short runs all season. Nick King is a driver who all season has just been inconsistent. Has some races where he's had some good long run speed, some good short run speed, but never was able to quite find that balance to sustain it throughout the race. But that 74 is still going backwards back there. Every time we pan something back in the field, that 74 is in the picture. It doesn't matter how much further back we drop that picture. This call has not gone his way.
Yeah, what was about to say. Nick King making a pass, by the way. Back to where he started. Was about to ask as well before things got the separation. What do you feel about his season, Nick King's?
Yeah, just, wasn't what he was looking for in the 12. Had a lot of wrecks throughout the year as well, so he's just been kind of up and down, looking throughout the playoffs to, you know, kind of be one of those disruptors. He's gonna be out here looking for a win, and good night so far tonight. He's kept that car relatively clean, running 13th right now. He's gonna have to find his way back forward and pick up a few more spots before the end of the stage, set himself up for the final run of the end, and see if he can put that car to position the battle for the win tonight.
Corey Moore, meanwhile, one of the playoff drivers, didn't really get a good first stage in the 19 machine, was involved in some troubles early on. Moore needs to find a little bit more pace here in his machine if he wants to pick up more stage points, because I'm not really sure how well he'll do at the road course, at the Roval, especially with that different configuration. These two have already lost him with the full second to the next pack too, so Moore needs to go digging.
He gets to the right rear of the 12 here on exit right now. He's going to get that side draft down the back straightaway here. Going to pull that 12 back even to him as they enter this corner. And it's got that position on the outside. It should be a good enough spot to get another run off the exit of 4 here. The issue is that 12 is going to have that shorter way around that trial. Will might compensate a little for that side draft. 19 not really chasing down the racetrack either, so they're going to stay side by side, stagnant where they were the previous lap. Still working on this pass. Corey Moore, 12 is going to get a pretty good run down on the inside. They almost cleared the 19 here as they come up off turn 2.
A little bit of crossover, and that might get the pass done here in a couple of moments. He's able to keep it clean at least. A little bit of a bobble. King. Now, slide on back to the apron. They'll battle on all wow. One of the Air Warrior machines. Tim Wortman Jr. still looking to squeak his way through. Shane Wyatt getting a little bit loose here.
Wyatt working his way back forward, recovering still from that incident on the initial start of the night's race. Tim Wortman Jr. in the 83, he was involved in that as well, as was the 79 there behind him. Many other drivers, I think Better Place is even in that too. So a lot of these guys starting to find their way back forward after that early incident, all rebounding right now as we start to head towards the end of the second stage and getting closer and closer to halfway through this event. These guys have recovered and they're back in this battle.
That being said, here's an air dive to the inside for the 79. That's Shane Davis. We haven't mentioned Shane too much tonight. BMP car. Shane Davis, not in the postseason battle currently. He's had some runs that have gone well, but not yet here. Your contact. That nearly spooked the 83 up into the wall there for a moment as Fenner Place goes down a little bit early to block.
See up here now though, Kevin Ruff still working off the back of Coffee. This is some of the better speed that I've seen out of Kevin Ruff all season. This 14's looking really good tonight, not just on the short run, but throughout pretty much the entire race so far tonight. He's just really cooked up, and he's got a big round Coffee right here. He's going to get to that left rear just about. Can't quite grab it though to pull him back. It's so much of an importance to get there, but he's going to get under him here into turn 3. We'll see if he can use that air to his advantage. He's going to push that 54 at the racetrack a little bit. He'll clear him here off of turn 4 pretty easily down the front straightaway. No, Coffee's going to side draft him pretty hard.
Yeah, that outside line gives an opportunity to pull back pretty well here. Looks like he's actually going to get quicker to the throttle as he's off of the outside, but Ruff shorter distance, still keeping him even. Somebody's got to clear eventually. The question is, who will be the first to break? Ruff this time quicker to the gas, tries to push the 54 up yet again. Coffee not backing off, and now Ruff making contact. Kevin Ruff didn't take the apron this time.
Yeah, that's his prerogative to do so. He doesn't have to go down there. Coffee has to respond to that and, you know, be adjusted to his line there and not make contact with the 14. Ruff has every right to stay on that surface if he wants to. You know, and 14's got nothing to lose out here. Coffee does, so that gives Kevin Ruff a bit of an advantage in his head here. And he knows that the 54 might be a little more reluctant to stay in it in a tight spot, but they're racing really hard right now. Coffee does not want to give up this position to the 14.
Yeah, Ruff is fighting hard for this spot. Oh, and now there's a little bit of air between the two of them for some contact. There was a good 2 feet or so between the fenders. They made contact off the rear. Coffee was able to hold on to it, and Ruff let him save it.
And all this is bringing Gallimore and that 11 right into the picture as these two battle. They're slowing each other down quite a bit. Still going to be side by side here. 54 edges a little bit ahead here down the front straightaway this time. We'll see what Ruff does down in the one last time. They had some contact. This time it's going to be pretty tight to each other again, but they're going to separate as they get loaded into the banking. See Ruff pulling ahead on the bottom. Right now it looks like he's clearing all the way up. Just can't quite do it though. Coffee's still hanging tight on that right rear.
One of the best battles on the racetrack here tonight. Ruff absolutely floored to the clearance, but himself. Coffee hits him. Gallimore slams the brakes. Down on the apron into the grass goes Captain Ruff. Alex Coffee now slow. Coffee no scrapes. No caution. We stay green. Pure calamity splits up the pack. Let's take a look at the Yars Button Boxes replay.
You'll see here on the bottom, 14 of Ruff, sees that he's almost clear. He gets into that gas really hard, drives across the front of that 54's nose, disturbs the air on the back of that 14, gets himself sideways and sends him down into the infield. It's live right now though. Sean Rogers is crashing down the front straightaway. He's in the infield grass.
Caution does come out this time. We stay to the yellow. We'll see where the trigger came off the 44 this time, as it looked like he was low.
This was a battle with Coffee again, so now Rogers was battling Coffee. He was on the outside on this R spot in Box's replay. Coffee just came up and got into the left rear of the 44 and turned him right there. So, looked like there may have been a little bit of net code, but I think that 54 was definitely going to hit the 44 either way.
Interesting enough, Calvin Ruff is saying that Coffee took the air off his spoiler. The last incident, see distance. Yeah, there was still a foot between the two of them.
Yeah, but you can still see the 54 was still traveling up. I just think that contact was inevitable despite the net code there. So just a bit too aggressive on the exact corner, and he sends his 44 around, but no damage to anybody. It looks like too much anyways here, so they'll continue on. They'll get some fresh tires put on those race cars and maybe pull out the fenders just a little bit and keep on going.
So what do you do on tires? We've seen last time where the split laid down. Where do you go on the sets? Do you see people staying out because of the closeness on the amount of tire sets here? Or do you take an air gamble to get yourself some good stage points here in track position? It looks like the answer is Matt Cox is in, a majority stay out.
I think Cox is really just trying to guarantee himself that upper playoff point with the stage win here, throwing caution of a win for the race win. Stage is only worth 1 playoff point, race win's worth 5. I think he's good enough to win that race, but I think he would rather just, I guess, take the safe route and try to get that 1 point again here. Not seeing the jacks up on the 32 though, so maybe it's just a visual thing here though, as it sitting in the box that long, he's almost definitely taking tires. I mean, no, I see other cars jacked up, so I don't know what's going on with the 32 here.
Yeah, not sure. Just sitting there right now. Don't know if there's any damage or anything, and now he's going. So he'll take his time out of the pit stall. 29 seconds up in the box. Wonder if he just had to go to the washroom or something. As the ticker says, he's just chilling. He is in 4th gear. Making 5th.
Dare I say his teammate just got dumped. Maybe he was watching the replay to help him out and let him know what happened, because since he's locked in, doesn't really have anything to lose. Really not sure. It's going to be a mystery until we get the chance to talk to him after the race. If he finishes in the top 3, which it seems like there's typically a pretty strong likelihood he will, so we'll have to keep that one in the memory bank for us, Justin.
Mike Guillemot's still getting damage repairs done. That fender just will not fix itself for whatever reason here. That front splitter also crushed in still. But this caution period does change who's up front. Kyle Holden and Blaine Wilson are the leaders. And I'm surprised the 88's been doing as well as it has been. The front nose is still crushed in. He was second before the caution.
Yeah, so he's still fighting through that, but he's had good pace even with that, Justin. I think, just to go back to Bikey for a moment here, I think there's probably some wheel damage that it's repairing before fender damage. So if I had to guess, maybe got like 4 or 5 minutes of like toe repairs. So we'll see, that wheel looks pretty straight, but that's really the only explanation as to why the fender wouldn't be repaired while he's been sitting in that box, is it's doing that after it does the components on the inside of the race car first.
Again, Connors restart Holden, Wilson, Shane Davis, Warman Jr., better place, Wyatt, Christensen, Gallimore, Moore, King, Sanders, Curry. Much top 12 starters. Only driver laps down, Timothy Harper. Sim Rat Market restart zone, green flag, green flag. And we're back on the way. Good launch again for the 88. Now the rest of the field looks to chase him. Shane Davis up to second. Your first drivers on tires are in 16th.
See Wilson there on the outside of Davis was able to hang on that right rear on the exit of turn 2, so we'll be side by side for second. Back here though, see Coffee 3 wide middle of Rough and Huff right now. We saw a little bit of beef in between that 54 and 14 not too long ago, so we're side by side again back here in the back. We'll see if any of that carries over now with those two racing each other again.
Let's look and see what happens with some of these fights. Nick King, 7th spot now. Corey Moore where he wants to be at least, coming up 15 to go in the stage. Moore gonna clear, got a little bit tight. Nearly drifted up to the wall. Gallimore bobbles as well.
Still really packed up back here on this restart. Drivers looking for some way forward. 81 right now, Barry Sanders Jr. He was wrecked earlier in the race. He's up in the top 10, just makes a move around. Nick King there on the outside. That puts him in the P7, so a great recovery for him with plenty of race left. Gallimore, a tight dive to the bottom of the 12. Nick King washes way up to give him room to do that. That could have been bad if the 12 kept coming down.
Could have been really bad in that spot, absolutely. Look at Coffee. He shoots his way through the pack. Coffee tries the outside. Has to be careful there. He hit some of the bumps originally on the outside, made the car plant. And now Alex Coffee is back on the stage points.
Pretty good moves for Coffee, slicing through that field right now, and he's going to keep on trying to pick them off one by one. Nick King next in his sights there in that 12. Going to file in on the apron there, but up front here, Shane Davis trying to find his way back around Wilson after Wilson took that spot from him on the restart, but Tim Wortman Jr., Brandon Fetterplace packed in pretty tight behind him right now in that 79 machine. Nothing quite anywhere to go right there just yet. These four, though, have lost to our leader, Kyle Holden. He's pulled out to nearly 7/10 second lead.
See some of the battling up at the front of the field. Some good fights for second. Dig versus BMP yet again. And BMP car wins out on the fight for now, but look at the Warrior machine. Tim Wortman Jr. right up into third. Brandon Fetterplace for Team Arrow now joins the fun. Lots of team representation up at the front here tonight. You have 4 different organizations amongst the top 5 fighting.
A lot of scratching and clawing up there right now. Some nice variation among the teams. Wilson was in second a moment ago, finds himself all the way back in 5th now, so quick little flip of the script for him. Holden still up front though, expanding that lead over Shane Davis in second. Barry Sanders Jr. under threat now though. Chris Davis has kind of pulled his way forward through his pack with those tires, so he's up there to P6 right now. He's running some pretty good lap times. He's cutting through these guys really fast.
Again, first on new tires, Chris Davis. Talked a lot about Coffee's moves, but Davis has actually been the quickest through it. And remember, he got held up the most out of anybody last time on the tire strategy. He still has 10 more laps to make these moves, and he's still Using the fresh boots pretty well. You see how much entry speed he's able to carry more so.
Does a really good job just taking advantage of the advantage he's been afforded with these tires moving forward right now. See on board here, he's going to go to that middle lane, find a little bit clearer of a pocket air than he would have right behind that 34. He's going to roll right to this right rear here at the 34 leads. It tries to slide up, just can't do it. The 74 is so much faster with the tire advantage right now. Nothing you can do when you're on older tires when a guy comes up on you like that on the exit of a corner.
It's just picking them off one by one with less than 10 laps to go on the stage. He's next in the order to attack Tim Wortman. Cuts underneath, passes him, actually spooks the 83 for a moment. That looked very easy. Coffey's approach is a lot more different in the background though. Alex Coffey's been using the outside line more than the inside lane. He's actually getting held up a little bit by a teammate. Wilson takes away the clean air, and here comes Rogers to pass him.
Yeah, Rogers there is going to be clear. Coffey now is working off the back bumper of Blaine Wilson, who we saw up there in the front on the restart. Chris Davis, though, to be inside the 79. 79 is not going to have any chance here. Clear off of the corner. Chris Davis to P2. You see the lap times there. He was 0.3 of a second faster than our leader a lap ago. So Kyle Holden's not going to have much of a chance when the 74 gets to him here.
Too much in terms of that movement, but all the same for Fender Place does make a move of Wortman Jr. for a good measure too. Coming out to 5 to go in the stage this upcoming time by. Kyle Holden still leads, by the way. Still side by side between these two. Wortman Jr. clears right on back. Brandon Fender Place, despite the incident, doing really well. Kyle Holden doing extremely well with Tier 2. And Holden, mind you, is not one of the drivers of the playoffs. Thing is, he's going to have a hard time trying to hold back the 74. That front nose damage is going to hurt him. Those fresher tires going to be the big difference on entry here for the lead.
Yeah, Davis should make pretty easy work of this down here in the turn 3. You mentioned Holden not in the playoffs. As Davis looks to take this position here, he'll get it off of turn 4 in all likelihood. Oh, he got a little sideways there, but so did Holden here on the top. They're going to stay a little bit side by side here. Shorter route there for the 74. Gets him pretty far ahead. He should clear him down here in the 1 and 2. And he will do that. But you mentioned Holden, one of the cars not in the playoffs. He was one of the drivers that just wasn't eligible based on the amount of races they ran throughout the season, just like Shane Davis. Drivers that would have otherwise been in the playoffs this season. Very consistent speed week in, week out. So don't let that fool you as to the amount of speed behind the wheel of the 88 or the 79.
Now, see where things finish out, to say the least. But all the more the same. Coffey and Gallimore now fighting. Older tires for Gallimore, but last time by, it's actually just a 10th off the pace up that 54 machine. Coffey's kind of plateaued in the midst of this pack. Seems like you need to be that first try to break through. It is so hard to get out of the dirty air.
Yeah, being that first try to break through is definitely going to help you a lot, especially because when you're following somebody that broke through before you, you have extra dirty air to deal with in their air that's at the same pace as you. Yeah, not all dirty air is the same. When a car is slower than you, it doesn't really affect you as much because you're kind of driving through it. When the guy in front of you is just as fast as you, you're sitting in the same position on it. It has a lot more effect on your race car, and it's where you find yourself a little more stuck through that field. You see, though, Shane Davis right now, he might be a little bit faster than the 74. I think it's too little too late right now at this point in the stage, but pretty impressive with the tire difference on those machines that he's driven up and gotten back close to the 74 and made it pass for a second right here on Kyle Holden.
Yeah, it's now the Davises 1 and 2 coming up now to the green-white checker flag this time by. Will Shane Davis steal the stage away? He'll try at least. Chris Davis, meanwhile, one of the drivers who needed a good run tonight. How about a playoff point and 10 points for the stage? Kart 74, Chris Davis takes stage 2. Shane Davis, Kyle Holden, the top 3. Wortman Jr., Rogers, Fender Place, Wilson, Coffey, Gallimore, and Sanders are able to get in the top 10 for the second stage tonight from Kansas. So the race is blistering quick so far tonight. Racing for about an hour or so. Still have a full A open to go. You're watching tonight's action for the Moonshiners Racing League from Kansas. Welcome back, everyone, to Kansas Speedway. More coverage of the Corridor Automotive 300. Stage 3 coming up, and this will be, again, to the finish. Quite simply a one-stopper to the end, Jeremy. What's been a bit of a roulette on strategy so far, the fresher tires have won.
Yeah, tires have mattered a lot. We're going to see how this restart plays out here. We can establish track position early. The rest of the field is going to be peeking through the dining room window right now as we have the Davis family on the front row. We'll see if those two could take off and lead them for the rest of this race.
Let's see which way this goes. The Davises, Rogers, Holden, Federer Place, Wortman Jr., top 6. Coffee, Wilson, Sanders, and Cox, your top 10. 74 ready to roll for the Simrat Market restart zone. Green. Back and away. And Davis gets a good launch. BMP controlling the top 3 spots, by the way. Team Arrow the next 2 after that. Then it's a mismatch of teams afterwards there. Rogers going for second. He's able to take third at least, and now gets the run outside.
He's got the positioning here to try to make a charge. We've seen this top kind of be 50-50 whether or not it works to make these passes throughout this race so far, so we'll see how it plays out this time. Looks like Shane Davis is going to go all the way down there to the grass while Rogers runs quite a bit higher, but he has that draft off of Chris Davis in front of him, so that'll keep them pretty even with that move. He's Kyle Holden pretty tight to the 44's bumper. It's not going to really disturb him too much, though, but the Shane Davis there on the inside is clear for P2.
Some nice moves being made right now as Davis is going to go. Both the Davises round for some fighting. Barry Sanders fighting with Coffee. Rizdos was crushed in on lap 1. That 81 machine now with a pretty clean race car. Series owner making the highline roll. Who needs tires when you can make passes?
Tight on the wall right there on exit, but he's clear of Kyle Holden there. P5 now for Barry Sanders. He wants more. He's going to come to the outside of another one of those aero cars in the 34 better place. Huge run off of turn 4 here. He's going to be looking for even more as they come down the front stretch. He's chasing that 44 Sean Rogers. It's going to kind of stall out though as they cut that travel in front of him down here in the turn 1. We'll see what he can do now as they head towards the back straightaway.
Yeah, here we go. Sanders has a lot of speed tonight in that car all of a sudden. Another Team Aero machine going for second. This is the best we've seen anybody roll that upper part of the racetrack for spots early in the run. Just seems a little bit tight in 3 and 4, but outside of that car seems to be slicing that outside like butter.
It's just running where no one else is right now, and it's working for him. He's got a bunch of clean air for the corner as he does it. Gets huge runs off of each turn as it's a little more wound up there in that middle lane. And he's going to keep sticking with it. Once again to the middle lane here in the 81. Caught a little bit of a whiff of dirty air on entry right there, kind of disrupted. And Chris Davis way up the racetrack. Shane Davis to be inside for the lead. He'll take that lead down there on the bottom.
Able to make the slice. Shane Davis takes over the race lead. Again, Davis trying to make a difference here. Shane Davis this season making 17 starts of the series. Now he's got Barry Sanders on the move to second. By the way, talking about that 79 machine, best finish all season for Shane. Well, he ended up early on in the season, riding to a couple victories at Skoda, Las Vegas, Bristol, for the season chart for the 79. And now, looking to regain that composure here. One of the drivers, of course, not in the postseason conversation, but has been a driver we've seen break through for victories this season in this series. All this with everyone else choo-choo training to try and catch the 79, looking for his first win since the spring.
Yeah, doing a pretty good job right now in that 79 machines. Pulled out to just a little under half a second lead on the field right now. Barry Sanders in P2 trying to chase him down after a blistered restart out of him. Finds his way all the way up in the second position. Davis fell back to third. Chris Davis, that being Sean Rogers' fourth better place, rounds out the top 5 early here to begin the final stage.
And now you get into that A-open mentality, to say the least here, though, Jeremy, where you have to think, where do I split up the run? When's the best time to pit? So forth. It's where things get a lot more long run focus rather than just pass, make a pass, give me another pass, how about a stack of 5 passes, stuff like that. Now it's about taking your time to be able to have a good long run. You'd have to think, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely trying to take care of the tires here. You got to go further, and you have all day on both sides of the stint, even if you split it dead in the middle. So got to get to that midpoint, and then you're going to have to get to that end of the race from that point. You have to race as if it's going to go green. You can't bank on cautions, especially in this field. So we've seen so many of these later race runs throughout the season go green because drivers fall into that mindset where we're being more conservative. And it's looking like pretty early right now. It might be where we're starting to lean, but up front, they're not being conservative. Sanders caught the back bumper of our leader.
Yeah, Barry Sanders has been able to pull away with Shane Davis here. Barry Sanders amongst the drivers below the cut line coming into tonight. Can he flip the script and change the way the cut looks going to the Roval here. That's going to be a huge disruptor if he can do something.
Yeah, he talked to us a little before the race, Justin. He didn't sound too confident. You know, maybe he was just trying to make us sleep on him a little so he could surprise us. Looking really good right now. He's got that car working anywhere he wants to put it. He's got another decent run down the back straightaway here. Nothing to really go with it. Shane Davis did a pretty good job off of turn 2 that time. But he's looking really, really strong right now. It's just going to be a question, did he push it too hard on the short end of this run? Is he still pushing it too hard on the short end of this run? And is it going to last as long as these tires have to go? Still a long way to go until that pit cycle opens.
Have to pace themselves to that point, absolutely. The top two seem pretty stable for now. Curious one of the drivers to keep an eye on this run. Matt Cox, remember, who came down pit road, didn't take a tire set, went to the back of the pack. He's right now rolling about a tenth of a second quicker than the leaders. In fact, he's the quickest car on the racetrack. There is a chance he might disrupt things. He right now can do whatever he wants, try different things here, trying to add to that win category if he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, wins are always fun to come by, important to come by for anyone. It doesn't matter where you are in your season and what it means to you. Obviously, it would still mean a little something to him, you know, moving points-wise forward. But every driver in the field wants those checkered flags, even though it's not in the playoffs. That's what we were talking about earlier. Like when I called Kevin Ruff a disruptor, he's right there in front of Matt Cox right now, P8. That's a guy who wants a victory. He wants a checkered flag. I mean, so does Tim Wortman Jr. You know, all these guys that haven't won this year but have had speed to do so. They have a few weeks left to get it done this season and be able to call themselves a winner.
Yeah, Gavin Ruff, you'd have to think, also might be one of the drivers. At some point, you have to think Ruff's going to break through for a win. He had that slide earlier when he was battling for the race lead, but he's been getting better and better. Things changed tonight. Shane Wyatt, meanwhile, he's right now running 16th. That car is not looking fun for him. That dig machine is dancing off the corners.
Yeah, just not been the night he was looking for. Solid qualifying effort, wrecked on the initial start, and just has not bounced back since then. We've seen a lot of the other guys that were caught up in that incident recover, and he's just not been able to do so. He's been mired in traffic all night long, and that continues right now, back here in the 16th position for him. Not the playoff run he needed.
So side by side, meanwhile, Chris Davis on an air resurgence. Looks like Barry Sanders does a little bit of ground after pushing hard early on, and near contact. Not every driver likes to take the apron here, Jeremy. That can cause some trouble spots at times, but it's the inside car's choice if they want to take the apron on, theory.
Yeah, I mean, it really is completely up to them. It leads to a lot of unnecessary crashes at Kansas. Drivers sometimes play games with it and can cause some contact. Another thing with the apron too, though, causes wrecks here is a lot of times drivers who do cut the apron, sometimes they just lose track of where the guided or outside is when they come up off the apron, and we'll see contact happen that way. We've been fortunate enough not to see that tonight, but we have seen some of that contact when the guy on the inside doesn't cut. But they've gotten out of it unscathed every time so far, and just another example of that right there. Those two are able to work that out and continue on their own.
And now, for now, see how things play out. I am still shocked at how well Holden's car is handled with that front nose still caved in. Normally when you have front nose damage like that, you struggle a bit. Tonight it's been like the car's not affected by the fact that it looks like someone took a sledgehammer to where the Camry's at.
It almost makes me wonder if it's just something on our end and there isn't actually damage there, but yeah, I do see it as well, just in the sim right now on my own, so I think he's got that damage. It's just, like you said, just hasn't been hurting him. I wonder, you know, maybe he made some really good adjustments that perfectly compensated for what that was negatively doing to his race car to keep himself in it with that damage.
Yeah. It's been interesting for the 88, absolutely. Third on the racetrack. So done through this one. Some shuffling in the backdrop, by the way. Barry Sanders nearly spun the car around in the backdrop, you may have noticed. It's looking stable for his crew. Hold on, we have trouble. Sanders just got squished into the wall. Caution flag is out because around goes Coffee. Coffee spins around in the checkup as Barry Sanders got squished into the wall, and Coffee got the worst of it.
Yeah, Coffee got the wall pretty hard on the back end of that slide. We'll take a look here at the RS button boxes replay. You see here, Coffee was struggling in the pack here. Sanders was falling backwards after that strong surge in the run. And just kind of ran out of room, and then Coffee, nowhere to go, trying to miss him. Overcorrects on the bottom, comes up and catches that outside wall. Pretty hard contact to the front of that 54 machine.
That kind of summarizes the past couple races too here, Jeremy, for him, where he's at speed, and then kablamo, an incident. In this case, it's the checkup. New Hampshire had the car to beat. Was talking with Alex Murray at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Felt like that car was a hot rod, and this time around, the hot rod goes around after the stack up.
And you're 100% right. Coffee had a ton of speed here tonight, but where did it go that run is where the question marks arise, and it's kind of been something that's happened to him a lot throughout the season, where he's got arguably the fastest car on the track, and he just finds himself outside of the top 10 for some reason or another towards the end of these races, and then something goes wrong in front of him, and he gets caught up in it. And another case of that tonight, and I mean, he had a pretty big buffer coming into tonight, but you don't want to give that up and be close to the cut line going into the roll. But we got pit stops here. This could be a very important stop here as these drivers coming down pit road. This could be our last 4-tire stop tonight. Some drivers might roll the dice a little later on.
We'll see. Aaron Matthews, not sure why he didn't pit there. That's going to be a tough spot. EOL, it's very big for you tonight to see that. It's Ryan Huff who gets the big bad letters. So it looks like he picked up speed on pit road, and we have Shane Davis on 4, nobody taking 2 this time. See how well that worked out last time. The Davises 1 and 3. I think Chris Davis actually won at the bottom, kind of like Kyle Holden habit.
Yeah, it puts Holden in second on this restart. It'll be interesting to see with that bottom position, though, for Davis. There's a possibility that Shane Davis takes the outside lane on the restart. Would have had the bottom anyways if he was second, but nonetheless, his MP3 guarantees him the bottom on this restart. You see, though, that's true. Sorry, I did forget Aaron Matthews stayed out, so that actually puts Chris Davis on the outside, Justin, coming off P3 if Aaron Matthews continues to stay on the racetrack, which he will not, because why would he right after we mention it? Or he will.
Interesting to say the least, but now this is going to be a gamble and a half for a driver with a lot of damage still on the car. As 82 coming to 81 laps to go, it's still a one-stopper to the end. Again, it's going to be Matthews, Davis, Holden, Fetterplace, Davis, the lineup. Matt Cox, Sean Rogers, Blaine Wilson, Captain Ruff, Barry Sanders amongst your top 10 for this one. Timothy Harper is still, by the way, the only car a lap down. Timothy Harper's been pinned a lap down, it feels like, this entire race in the 42 since that spin.
Yeah, he'll blame me for this one. Thinks that I'm a bad luck charm for him, so you're welcome, Tim. Unfortunate to see him have some bad luck here tonight. Obviously, that spin earlier in front of the field got some of our contenders up front caught up as well, so it's been a rough night for him in that nice-looking machine in the 42, and there's still some time left tonight. You never know, it could come swing back around for him.
So, it's time for the restart from Simrat Market Restart Zone. Fresh tires for everybody but car 5. Green flag is out, we're back on our way. And the inside got the better launch, the outside didn't go. Shane Davis blocks off Fenner Place. Well, Kyle Holden will see Matthews immediately give up the lead and park the bus on the outside and force it 3 wide down the back.
It's going to kind of bottleneck the field here. They're going to try to find a way through Matthews. Got to be careful as we get to the exit corner. Everybody's going to be washing up towards that. So yeah, that's just what I was looking at. They washed up into him. That's Sean Rogers, Paul Gallimore down in the infield. Both will keep it straight though, so we're going to stay green. Oh, Gallimore almost went around at the last moment there, but they're going to stay green. They're going to get back up and going. These two are going to need a caution to get back in this thing.
Ours Butter Box replay time. And right there, a squeeze with Matthews, sparks some contact. Good effort by Rogers to save it. Better effort by Gallimore, even though he buzzed the tires to make sure he didn't loop it. That keeps us green, albeit with them losing 3 seconds to the next year's car in the main pack.
That was my exact concern going into that corner, Justin, was once I got to the exit, it gets a lot more narrow in terms of usable racing surface as you're all pushing so hard and coming up the racetrack, and they just ran out of room with that 5 falling backwards on the very outside.
By the way, some of the air battles keeping up. Nigel Christensen. Pretty silent night tonight for the 20. We've mentioned him a few times by name. He was the lowest ranked driver coming into this evening on points. Oh, and now he's got the 74 dancing in front of him. He just apologized to the radio. Chris Davis did. Christensen to the outside instead.
See Nigel working that middle lane right now. Gets back into the throttle, nice and smooth here, driving it up off that corner. They'll still be side by side down the front straightaway. Davis will have that shorter line, and the draft of those in front of him will give him the advantage as they head down into turn 1. This is where Christensen will get the advantage, swinging back in his direction though. Down the back straightaway, other cars in front of him will come up to the outside line. He'll have the draft now. No side draft from that 74. That puts Christensen clear for P8.
He's a good points day, to say the very least. He's had an okay day at best. Here's the playoffs to remember. 32's already locked in. They're 4th right now. Coffee, one of the drivers not locked in, had a 39-point cushion. Need a decent run still at the Roval to make sure things are okay. Sean Rogers needs a caution flag. Was only up 17 tonight. Could lose a bit of ground. Brandon Bikey doing damage all night. He's down to 14th. Corey Moore, he's been okay tonight. He's running 13th. Gallimore, for reference, is down 22nd. Fenner Place has been rising the occasion though. Shane Wyatt has been okay at times, but stuck outside the top 10. Well, the 74 of Davis, the 81 of Sanders, but up front some points. Blaine Wilson also is in the top 10 with Nigel Christensen there too. So interestingly, the drivers in the first top 6 spots here, Jeremy, have done not so great outside of Matt Cox at times, or have shown speed, but don't have track position right now. While the errors on the bottom 6, such as these two right here, are doing okay, or have been having exceptional nights in the points.
Yeah, we've kind of been flipping around a lot tonight. You see Chris Davis there in this battle, just a little bit behind these guys. P9 kind of jumped out to me when we were looking at his playoff standings. That is the guy that I would say if somebody showed up and did their job so far tonight, it has been him. It's been a little unconventional at times, but he's gotten it done in both stages, gotten points, and here he is in the top 10 as we're closing in towards the end of this race.
Know how well that 74's been able to ride tonight. Now, only about where he started. It's been a track position type of night where if you're able to get the tire difference, you can make it work, make it sing, make it fly. Oh, wow. They take some moves. Cabin Ruff does, at least. Ruff, good on long run. Just has a hard time making the passes, it seems. Just very timid since earlier before. Now, taking his time to be able to attack the boss man to make sure he doesn't wreck one of the top runners in the league. And one of the top runners tonight on speed, although Sanders squeezes him.
Barry Sanders up there on the outside in that ever beautiful looking Matt Livery's machine, fighting really hard with the 14. Kevin Ruff's been almost the victim of these battles tonight, which is kind of backwards from where I think I've seen a lot of throughout the season where he races guys really hard, and tonight he's been the guy trying to come forward later in the runs, getting raced really hard, so kind of seeing what it is on the upper end of that for him, but he's done a great job taking care of that equipment and taking care of the guys he's been racing when it's been happening. So right now with Sanders still battling really hard. The 81's going to try to hang on that right rear one more time here with the 14. Some smoke there off of turn 2. Not sure what that's from, but it doesn't look like there's anything strange on the racetrack at the moment.
It seems pretty stable here. Yeah, smoke just puffing up around the racetrack. I think the driver that might have sparked it, though, to confirm, was the 74. Chris Davis, who was running 9th, nearly spun the car out, was able to save it on the apron as Ruff completes the pass. Chris Davis went from running top 10 down to 23rd position with a big mistake off of turn 4.
That kind of froze out all the positive work he did with those stages now. Now, I will say the caveat to that is all that positive work to stage just makes it to where this is not the end-all of his season if it continues this way, but he'll just kind of break even on the night if this is where the result were to hold. Very unfortunate for him as he was in line to have a nice little looking gap when he got to the Rollable a week from today.
Meanwhile, we talked about 25 having radio issues he mentioned during the race early on. Great car. So far hasn't held back in terms of his attacks, but hasn't been able to make up ground tonight. He's just been stuck. Hasn't been able to make passes. He's been in the main group. But again, has been really backing off his entries to try and charge the corner. It hasn't worked.
Yeah, great car, just doing a good job back here. Not a driver we talk about too much, always pretty quietly just getting good results, so always good to get a little bit of TV time on this nice looking 25 machine as he's making a pass here on the inside of Shade in the 45 and trying to pull another position back forward. Just a really strong long run driver, takes great care of his equipment and gets rewarded for it over the course of these long runs.
At least he's able to make the pass here up 3. Johnny Shea not done with him yet, at least on the crossover. So Adams Coffee, by the way, 1 lap down, needs a caution flag to be able to get back on the lead lap here, just behind this battle with a clean race car. We are, believe, just about, if not already, in the green light on fuel, by the way, here, Jeremy. So it becomes the question, how far do you take the run? We know these drivers are only 18 laps into the fuel run outside of the 5 of Aaron Matthews. When do you elect to pit here now if you are the crew chiefs for these teams?
Yeah, it really depends on what you're doing. You look and see Shane Wyatt there in the wall and the King taking evasive action. Are you looking to be aggressive on the strategy, maybe take a 2-tire call because you don't need too much fuel? I know it's a lot of laps on the lefts, but the short stop could be enough of an advantage to work out there for you if you go long or do it early. You want to take a short pit, you want to go long, you like the way your car's been on the long run all night. It really depends on what your car's doing. Someone like Matt Cox are now under screen 32. He's a really, really consistent long run driver, takes good care of his tires. I'd expect him to overcut a little. Kevin Ruff back there in the 14, he's been pretty fast on the short runs tonight and pretty good sustained pace on the long runs too, so maybe see if he undercuts, takes advantage of that speed on the front of the run, sees if he can hold on to that track position.
A lot of question marks. Potentially for some, absolutely. The thing is, we've seen so many of those undercuts backfire too. It's so easy to time it up the wrong way. The thing is, though, fall's only been 9/10 of a second again. These Speedway tires on iRacing just do not fall off on the next-gen car. It's not like in the past where it became down to how well the setup was for the long run to conserve tire to be able to make sure you fell within 2.5 second average. These days, it's how much can you minimize any fall off? Anything below 9/10, you are basically on another island.
Yeah, and that really is always the question, and it's kind of impossible to answer without the entire picture. Now, I'll be able to tell you 62 laps from now, 61 laps from now what the right answer is, but at the moment it's really just a guessing game of, what's going to work out best. And, another big portion of it is just how well do you execute your pit stop. If you can make up a second or two on other drivers just by hitting the pit road entry marks perfectly, that can make your strategy more viable than the others just because of that alone.
I've seen people here lose races because they were so conservative they lost 4 seconds off pit road entry. Caught it from the jump. Guess what? They lost by 4 seconds every single pit stop. It's so critical to make sure you at least get some sort of practice on it. Because if you're one of those drivers who takes a slow crawl even with the cone, it's a problem. There's a reason some of the NASCAR drivers lock up the brakes like mad. We've seen to be able to get to pit road entry.
You don't need the rubber anymore, so you may well use why you got it and slide them in the pit road if it means making up some time. So, see historically guys like Kyle Busch have just been like some of the best drivers getting on pit road throughout their career. Some drivers on iRacing just have that knack for it.
All this while we're seeing some of the drivers like Nicholas Atwood. Atwood has registered for some races this season and missed them. In other cases, he has completed the runs. This has been, for Atwood, an okay night. This season, only the one top 5 all-campaign. This is the first race he's ran on distance since the start of September. The top 5, mind you, came at Michigan. He can put together decent runs. It's just in a lot of cases, he just doesn't start.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes throughout the season as well for that driver. Just kind of been caught up in things. Whether it be something he created or some stuff out of his control as well, of course. Every driver has a swings throughout a season. I remember the Michigan race specifically, you referenced a strategy race. So we know he has a knack for making those good strategy calls, was able to pull off a good finish back then with that. So if this race comes down to a situation like that, maybe he's a guy to keep an eye on right now. But back there in the 14th position, it's a little hard to make something work back there. But you see, speaking of being back there, Alex, Coffey just got him loose with the air right there wide in the wall. It was a big moment for 2 drivers right there. But Coffey has not worked his way through his traffic really fast again. Going to get a couple more spots right here, but it's just not quite what he needs. And actually, now that I see, he's not even on the lead lap at the moment, so Coffey needs a caution.
He needs it pretty soon. Because at this point, mind you, Coffey is actually still running a decent clip. Put him around the top 10. But, again, has not had anybody take a step out. See if that changes soon. All that being said, the packs have split up. The top 5 have pulled away by more than a second and a quarter. You also have in the heart of the second pack, Tim Wortman Jr. putting together lap times matching the race leader. Wortman Jr.'s digging, has the long run speed, but just didn't have the short run fall off or fire off and did not have track position. Again, it's another key of to be fast here, you need to be fast at all points of the run and keep the track position.
It's a hard track to figure that out. It's one of those tracks that eludes a lot of guys, and you'll see people that aren't necessarily really good everywhere else. This could be a track that pops up as somewhere they run really well. It's your mile-and-a-half racetrack, but it doesn't drive typically. I just don't know how to quite put it in the words, but it's very unique, almost Homestead-esque in terms of how you can approach the corners in so many different ways. It doesn't visually appear the same as Homestead, obviously, when it comes to that, but when you're behind the wheel of the car, it almost feels that way at times, where guys are running the corners 5 different ways, and each of them have their own viabilities to them and how much speed they're making. And up front, though, Kyle Holden getting chased out by Matt Cox. Holden has still just done such an impressive job with that damage on the nose of the race car.
Yeah, still been impressive all night long despite the damage. He's been fast. He's led 44 laps now. They could just turn a pin call from Barry Sanders. So the window is open and the 81 is coming. There he goes. Taking a little bit fast to the cone, but does slow it down.
We talked about getting it all, and Barry did just that right there. Very early in the cycle here, though. This is quite an undercut out of the 81. We'll see if the call's 4 tires. I would assume it has to be short pitting this early in the run. Nicholas Atwood on pit road. We talked about the mistakes that he's made all season. Speeding for the 91 machine.
There goes his chance at a good finish in this one.
Oh, Barry missed the box.
Oh, that's even worse. So that strategy to undercut just got thrown apart. Matt Cox just entered pit road. 32 is in. They're running top 10 also. He'll take the slow roll into the box. Does he stop at the mark? Yes. Takes a moment to get on the checks, but he's in.
Pretty perfectly hit those marks from the looks of things. Bit of a slower stop though from the pit stop timer. Not quite sure why that would have happened for him there. 14.8. That is really unfortunate for the 32. Nothing of his own doing. iRacing just did not give him a good stop right there when he really needed it.
Nope, not at all. He'll now be pinned a lap down for now in the midst of the cycle. Still 48 laps to go, only 35 laps into the tire run, by the way. Holden's lead is now more than a second. And you have to think pretty soon some of these drivers will have to deal with some lap traffic too with these various cycles, which could cause a bit of chaos. Brennan Bikey, mind you, is now running in 8th. The fender finally fixed after all those pit stops.
Yeah, he worked at it all night long, got the cautions he needed to get it repaired, and he's found his way back forward right now inside the top 10. Obviously, a couple cars in front of him had pit already, so probably was running in that 10th position before the cycle began. But Bikey has done a good job recovering, and there's still plenty of time left in this race for him to go pick off some more positions.
Same can be said for the 44. Remember, Rogers needed to gain back 3 seconds. He's gained back some of the ground at least. He's 16 seconds back of the leader, however. Just trying to pass by some of his teammates to at least get some spots back after losing all that ground for the drivers on the apron and in the grass earlier.
He's been slowly calling back at that. That's going to be really difficult for him to make up, though. Just lost so much time, and his tires are at a deficit the whole run because of all that slide. Gets around for that 16th position right there. Barry Sanders right here, he's on the fresher tires, and these guys, he's going to try to make quick work of every car he passes right now to maximize that shortcut strategy for him in that 81 machine.
See him just trying to slice and dice from the high side. Right now, as things go, he would not be the net leader with that mistake, by the way. Matt Cox would be as we go, who is already up in turn 2. So Cox in a much better spot, even with the slower pit stop. The difference, near 3 seconds in the pit lane, and then, of course, that rollout. So the 32 may very well cycle to the point here. They're running 30.1s to the leader's 31 flats.
Yeah, definitely some better lap times right now. I wish we could get inside the head of the 32 car right now. I want to know how hard he's pushing. He knows he's short pit massively on the rest of his field. How much is he taking care of those tires to try to get them to the end of this race? Obviously, still has to run good lap times right now to have the lead when it comes out, but he's got to try to hold on to that lead for the entire time when everybody's on fresher tires and then after they all make their final stops.
Right now, looking around at some of the other drivers. Andrew Christensen in all of this. He's running 7th. Bikey has closed up a decent bit to get to him. See that difference a little bit on the entry to get the car to roll. Christensen Give it a little bit of space. Actually rub the paint off the fender. Just about peel that wrap off. A little bit close for comfort on some of these exits here, but the 20 is taking some wide arcs on entry.
Yeah, definitely was pretty wide there. Bikey there behind him. Go kiss the wall just a little bit up off that corner. Bikey still been sitting behind Christensen. These guys are all running pretty similar lap times you see throughout the entire left side. Your ticker there, most drivers within a tenth of each other, so not a lot of speed discrepancy at this point in the run. Coming to 40th to go. Next time by when the leader takes the line, you gotta think these pit stops are about to start to really pick up here.
$40 to go, with the majority of the field yet to pit, by the way. Things looking stable for this pack to just keep on running green. It looks like it's trending green as Cabin Rough is gonna go in. Charge the cone hard, nearly spun it. Went a little bit early on the brakes and still nearly sped in.
Did a pretty good job though, got there with pretty good pace. We'll see if he hits his marks into a stall now, can't slide through it. Looks like he does a good job there, maybe not as aggressive getting in as he could have, but he hit the marks.
Already revving the engine, that's interesting. Never heard somebody just slam the gas down in the middle of the pit stall. We have a spinner on pit entry. Tim Wortman Jr. just spun it out and Nigel Christensen is destroyed. Again, no caution, we stay green. 83 on the RS Butter Box's replay. Oh, hit the transition too hard.
Yeah, just got there. Nothing the 20 could do at all right there, trying to get the pit road as well as the 83 just cut back in front of him in that blind lane. So some damage to the 20. It doesn't look like the 80 really got any bit damage to the back end, but a ton of time lost for the 83 Tim Wortman Jr.
The chaotic moment there. Interesting enough, Meatball Flag 42. I think Timothy Harper did something during that cycle. Didn't hit any walls. Wonder if he blew a tire. He's got to come on down, and when the Meatball Flag comes out for the tire side, well, you better be able to hold on. This car had already been dealing with damage, had gotten back in the lead lap. Kyle Holden's coming in this time with them.
Yeah, almost certainly a tire there for 42, but our leader in. That's the big story right now for Kyle Holden. We'll see if he gets a good stop there in that 88 machine.
Here he goes on entry. And on the marks. Black flag, Kyle Holden. He just sped, and this changes the lot for the lead. He is absolutely livid on the radio.
Yeah, we heard the driver on the radio. Somebody hit the cone. There was no speed cone there. He didn't know where the speed line was and got caught speeding because of that. So unfortunate for him, as he was in a great position to win this race.
Yeah, not sure who clipped the cone. In a lot of cases, that cone sometimes hasn't been moving lately. And well, Corey Moore wants those on the jacks. This is not good for some. Wayne Wilson also missed the commitment cone, by the way, on his entry. So a lot of people are blowing by that yellow cone with mistakes. Rogers the second. Nick King is the leader by 6 seconds for now.
Yeah, we're still waiting to see pit stops out of these drivers, so 35 to go right now. We'll see how much longer these guys want to stretch it. Maybe just hoping for a caution at this point in this group. See if they can bring everybody back down pit road with them when that yellow were to come out and jump into the lead that way.
Shane Wyatt's coming down this time, by the way. Another driver, another near speed. Just have to hold the brake to be able to get them below the speed limit for a save like a baseball slide. And now it's time for some people to do the caution dance, because if it was to get a caution flag, only 9 cars are currently on the lead lap and shrinking. With King staying on the racetrack, you're running 31-2s. And at this point, the shade is coming out too. Bit ominous. on some of the other drivers on the racetrack. Ryan Huff, he is 18 seconds back where Nick King is on strategy. Looked good early, fell off as the race went on. Johnny Shade, also in that category. He's getting passed now by the 74, who is still making up from his slide.
Yeah, a lot of these guys who haven't pit yet were the drivers that had those issues on this run, so we're just hoping for some miracles right now, realistically. You see Matt Cox of the drivers who have pit was the first to unlap himself, having Ruff just unlapped himself now around Nick King, so that puts Ruff in second out of those cars who have pit. Currently, though, about 5 seconds behind Matt Cox in that 32.
A lot of mathematicians working. We'll say this. 5 seconds net advantage still for the 32 over the 14. See some of the errors like Barry Sanders. This is in the midst of a battle pack. Shane Davis is still trying to provide pressure too. They have unlapped themselves. They will stay for now on said lead lap now and are not in danger with the caution flag. Great night for Shane, as mentioned. And remember, they can go up to about 67 at this point. This can go for this run another 10, 15 laps for the 12 machine and everybody else here. You see those stint differences with the drivers. Cox, about 10, 11 lap difference, give or take, on the stint.
Yeah, it's really going to be a testament to that 32's ability to really manage his equipment over a long run. The best of anybody in the series if he's able to make that much of a short pit hold on to win a race. It's a pretty aggressive 10 laps. That's a lot of time on the tires here. But he's got a pretty big gap to lean on. He's just got to take care of it. You see so much clean racetrack out there in front of him. That's exactly what he needs to see right now to make this work.
Yeah, you see that right now, playing the game. Mind you, that gap is going down quickly. Right now, it's going down 3/4 a lap. At this rate, that gap will be gone by the time they get towards the finish, but that again doesn't calculate the fact there's the equalization point of the fall off. For Cox, he's got to hope these tires equalize out. With a couple second buffer, you'd have to think that's a very tough task with the ratio.
Yeah, but I think Cox's goal here is to have Ruff pushing so hard on these tires that by the time he gets there, he doesn't have enough left to make the pass, while Cox is saving and can then start to run a little bit harder once the 14 gets there.
Another driver just indicated they want to come down. Ryan Huff this time will bring his Hufflepuff machine down. That rhymes. And that's very conservative on the entry. No issues with the yellow cone this time for the purple race car. So they now come to a stop with 26 to go. Looking at this now for King. His gap for the race lead is shrinking even more so. He is not running fast. Sean Rogers has nearly closed up the full 6 seconds on him.
Yeah, King 100% just praying for a caution right now. Gonna flip the entire field if he gets it, as are the drivers behind him. Obviously, they have more longer pace at this point as they are rapidly closing on the 12, specifically the 44, Sean Rogers. But these drivers do all still need to stop. This is not the battle for the win as we run if we continue to race green.
See those, some of our drivers just trying to zip on through on the fresher rubber. Rogers taking his spots, just the inside. Believe heard something involving coffee on the radio. Now, things are getting tricky. Calvin Ruff, by the way, just making the move on the 54, just about a half a track behind. Said on the radio, I hope I don't lose talent this time. He said thank you, have a good day. He didn't say the good day, but he probably is thinking, oh, let's have a good day from here on out.
Definitely All out on the line right now for that 14 machine. He's in the best position to have a chance to beat that 32. I mean, that gap has still been closing. It's just a little over 3 seconds right now, 23 to go in this race. See, Sean Rogers, though, has caught Nick King. He'll make the pass for the lead here as he tries to pull alongside 12. Won't quite get there yet. These drivers have to be pushing to the end of that fuel tank, though. I don't know how much longer these two can quite make it.
Yeah, this is going to be right towards the top of the fuel window. Rogers is there to take the lead, though. For now, Nick King tries he might. Doesn't have the long run pace in him tonight. Rogers does. And they've made the pass just like that while in traffic. BMP car to the lead. Chris Davis now 2 seconds back. Nick King just said he is pitting in, so a very conservative entry for the Warrior car. And they come with 21 laps to work with on the board.
Good decision to take a conservative entry there. Not much to gain in his situation. He gambled on a caution, did not get it. At this point, just don't lose anymore. He'll come down, get his service, get back out there, and just see what he can get before the race is over. You see Paul Gallimore in the 11. He's hit pit road as well now. That leaves just Sean Rogers, Chris Davis, and Johnny Shade in our top 3 drivers who have not pit.
Yes, indeed, we have. Craig Carr laps himself. Carr 13th spot, Nigel Christensen. Next spot back on his mark, 6 seconds. So amongst those who got some penalties or had issues during the pit cycles, Kyle Holding, Blaine Wilson, Timothy Harper lost time, Tim Mortman Jr. Sean Rogers is coming down, Johnny Shade is down. We are at the tail end of the tanks. Chris Davis will join in. Oh, problems for Rogers, and contact! Chris Davis slams in the back end of him and speeds on entry. He sped right into the bumper.
Just such an unfortunate turn of events for a 74. He did so good throughout the first half of this race, positioning himself well, moving the roll next week, and nothing has gone right since then. And now we'll see how it shakes out, but it might not be looking too hot for him when he moves in the roll compared to what could have been. Meanwhile, you see here Matt Cox, our current race leader, 19 laps remaining, 2.6 second lead over Kevin Ruff. That closing rate has reduced, Justin. I don't know if the 14 gets there. It's still faster, but is he faster enough?
That's the huge question. It's 2.6, as you said. 2.5 down the straightaway. It's going to come down to the margins here. Can Matt Cox double up on wins in the round? Looking for a season high 8 wins in 2025 here in the OP Builders Cup Series. Shane Davis, mind you, is on the charge too on slightly fresher tires also, who's looking for his first win since early in the year. So a lot of potential storylines here where it's very likely going to either be an existing driver of the playoffs if it stays green or a playoff spoiler if things continue the way they are here. And that will make things a lot more intriguing for the Roval, Jeremy.
Yes, it certainly will. It's unlikely we get a new winner of those in the playoffs with the way things currently run. So definitely looking like next week will be an open event for all the playoff drivers besides Matt Cox. Everybody's going to be looking to fight their way in to the next round. Currently, though, Kevin Ruff back there, we saw 3 tenths a lap ago was better of a gap. I mean, that would be enough to get there. I just don't know how consistently he can hold that. Sean Rogers trying to come past his teammate on some fresher tires right now. This can really hurt the 32 speed. He catches him in the worst spot. That's going to cause Matt Cox to lift a little. Nick King's going to come past him as well. 14's liking what he's seeing out the windshield right now.
Yeah, it's a good spot. Kevin Ruff is struggling to close up now. I think that equalization play we're talking about may have just hit at the perfect time, as predicted, around the 2-second mark. This is working perfectly for him with 14 laps to go. Now the hope is that it stays green. Remember, it's been difficult to pass for the lead on track in the first place. We'll say Sean Rogers just in front of the leader. See if dirty air starts to play a factor here as these tires continue to go in their small little phases of the proverbial onion on them. Let's go back to Ruff. He's pulling away now from Shane Davis. See him working the throttle, almost working it like it's a joystick for a moment.
Yeah, just not enough right there. You got to think Kevin Ruff's got to be watching the gap on his relative right now. When does he maybe consider moving around the racetrack, seeing if he can find something in another line? There's only 13 to go. You don't have a lot of time to figure it out. This isn't working. What's the harm in going and trying something else? That's what I'd be doing right now if I was in the 14. You just got to go and look around, try to find some pace somewhere else. That's exactly what he does. He went to the middle here. Oh, it's because he's getting passed on the inside by Johnny Shade.
Yeah, Johnny Shade coming on through. Shade, remember, lap down. That cost Ruff a couple tenths of a second. Mind you, Matt Cox is also in a similar situation. He's caught up to Nick King and is stuck in his dirty air too. So dirty air playing a factor. Ruff trying different lines. Cox being taken up the track now that he's in the wheels of the 12. He is struggling in the dirty air a little bit.
The lap was a little bit better for Ruff. Running the middle and getting that draft on the straightaway seemed to help him right there. He needs to keep that going. Finally breaks for 2-second barrier about time through 1 and 2. It'll obviously come back a little bit down the back straightaway, just the natural flow of the intervals throughout the course of the lap, but it stays under about 2-second mark. So Ruff has found a bit of a recipe to cut some time out of that lead of the 32.
And this is going to require a bit of luck with 10 laps to go. Deficit's under 2 seconds. Ruff would need to gain a lot more than what he's doing to get there. That's the challenge. 32 has been very quick all night. 48 laps led, yeah. But remember, at one point, he elected to come down pit road and did not take tires. Still held onto his tire sets and now has found the track position at the right time with a 10-lap undercut. He is lucky where his placement is on the racetrack because just up the road there's a lot more traffic. He's not likely to hit any more traffic that can cost him any more time here. So the 12 has gapped away a little bit.
Yeah, definitely a lot more clean space for the 32 now, and it was looking a little bit ago. Just one car between him and Ruff right now. It's Johnny Shade, who looks to, at this pace, should catch Cox before the end of this, but it would be at the very end of the race right now if that occurs for the 45. I just don't think the 14 has enough time anymore right now. He's still a little bit quicker, but it's just not enough compared to the 32. Matt Cox has done a great job holding on to those tires.
Seven to go. 7 more times around. One of Captain Ruff's best races all season. 6 top 5s, 13 top 10s. Best of the rest when it comes to the race outside of the postseason. You can argue if he was in the postseason, he'd be one of the contenders for the championship because in that opening round, he did well. 9th, 17th, and 4th. You can argue with the race at Bristol, things could have gone a lot more differently, but at this point, just got to play the rest of the game. His average position in a lot of races this season has been a walking top 10 for at least a third of them. He's looking to try and finish things up for just a second top 2. And his season the last time was for the playoff cut line when he was at Daytona. His first non-super speedway second in the line here.
At Daytona second, obviously heartbreaking, just missing making the playoffs with that, and then this would be just as heartbreaking as well, because I wouldn't be surprised if behind the wheel of that machine he felt like he had a chance to get there when this run started, but it just stalled out. You saw him running the top right there for 1 and 2. He's looking for anything right now to cut into that lead. It's just not going to work out for a 14 without a caution.
Oh, we have trouble. Front straightaway. Caution. Rogers is around. And this changes everything.
Well, I was saying it wouldn't work out without a caution, but he got that caution, so we'll take a look at the RS button boxes replay here. Sean Rogers to the inside of Nigel Christensen, a huge dive bomb off into the corner, and he just got himself loose. Nowhere for Nigel to go at that point. The 44 spun around on his own out of turn 4.
How about that? And that is not what you expect this point. Yeah. Praying for Christensen, nothing to go about except go for the slide. Now what do you do here? Because this completely changes the whole story.
Who has tires left is the real question here. I wouldn't be surprised if the 32 doesn't with some of the calls he made earlier, but does anybody up front have tires left that wants to take them here? And they do. A lot of takers back there behind our leader who stays on the racetrack.
Clock stays out, Bikey, Moore, but it's Ruff, Shane Davis, Fetter plays Sanders, Carr, and Wyatt in. Still waiting for some of the others to make their way down pit road, but Brian Curry just rolled the dice. This is by far the biggest split on tires we've seen for anybody who's stayed out here, and we've seen earlier where the tire difference really lied. We might see a frantic run here. 2 tires for some of the drivers. Shane Davis, Brandon Fetter place, Calvin Ruff, the first on 4.
I like that 2 tire call there, Justin. It's green, white, checkered. It doesn't look like the 4 tires are going to work out too well for Ruff. It's just going to be too far buried in the field. But yeah, I say that we saw in real life just this past weekend that Carter won the race, restarted 10th. So don't count anybody out just yet.
Yeah, that took a couple green white checkers, didn't it? 2.
He started 10th on the final green white checkered. Past 9 cars.
Good point. But will we see someone get squished into the fence by the end of the day? Or will we see cars go spinny spin? Better yet, some clean racing is what we hope for. But in all seriousness there, BMP machines up front. 1 attempt at a green-white checkered. If we get a caution flag before the white, it is over. So the hope is we get to the white flag, get to the League Gaming 1 to go, and race it out to see who goes to Van Louis Sticker's victory lane from that point forward. Remember, your top 5 all stayed out. Then 6th and 7th on 2 tires. 4 tires for 8th and 9th, 2 tires for 10th. Cabin Ruff is the first on 4, and the 2 tires didn't work out either, remember, when someone tried it earlier.
Yeah, 2 tires weren't too good earlier, but it's only 2 laps that you need here, and the lefts might be just about the same age, so you're just hoping that you can get that grip you need to make it work here. But as we see, 5 cars stayed out. 6th position, Shane Davis first on 2. Then you have Fetter place in 2 and 7th, Cabin Ruff on 4 and 8th. This is going to be a spectacular finish building up right here.
Here we go. Get your cameras out for the Sim Wrap Market Restart Zone. 2 to go. Who gets the edge? Green flag is out. No tire spin. Moore gets pushed ahead by Matthews. Watch the fresh tires, try and go quickly through this pack. Shane Davis trying to go way outside. That's not working. The older tires are holding up through 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 will be the question.
Oh, Ruff went all the way to the bottom there. Just looking for any way around. Old tires still holding up. Shane Davis all the way around the wall. Look at the 14 flying through the inside lane. He passed 3 or 4 in one corner right there. He's still going to get more down the front straightaway. See Bikey trying to get down there, side draft him. He's another one of no tires trying to hold him up. White flag in the air, Justin.
League Gaming 1 to go. Calvin Ruff's got into 4th. Matt Cox still up front. Fetter place is flying. Fetter place on 2 tires. Can he punch his ticket into the round of 8 here? 3 wide behind as Rumpf tries to clear cars, but it's the 34 going for the lead. Fender Place with the run. Fender Place with the boost. Contact for the lead. Matt Cox doors. Fender Place slams. It's Matt Cox who gets the win over Brennan Fender Place in a huge crash after the line.
It's hard racing for a win. There's wrecking for someone for a win, Justin. That one might have leaned a little bit towards the ladder right there with Matt Cox.
That's going to definitely get some temper sparked here. Watch this. Fender Place, if this was clean, could have punched his ticket into the next round right then and there. Matt Cox wants the win bad, though, and I think the sim just black flagged Matt Cox. This could get interesting with a review.
Fender Place didn't even come close to touching him. He ran him into the grass and wrecked himself to wreck him to win the race. Yeah, it's where do we draw the line, Justin? That is the question when it comes to a finish like this. There's beating and banging and rubbing, like I said, and then there's wrecking a guy for a win, and that one might have crossed the line for me.
I will say this, Jeremy, the in-sim results are about to have a bit of a mess because Matt Cox went backwards on the racetrack with cars still yet to finish. Hard licks after the checker flag. Some drivers nearly went flipping. So there's a lot to decompress. There's a lot we're going to have to explain here for the official results to see who goes to Mobile 1 victory lane in the sim, but it's Van Louis Sticker's victory lane for the series. We'll take a break. More action after this.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Makoni.
We now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MakoniSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Makoni Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back, everyone, to Kansas for more coverage of the Corridor Automotive 300. A bumping and banging finish here on this one. Matt Cox actually got a black flag from the sim because he drove backwards when there were still cars yet to finish at the back of the field. It was a bit of a mess. It will say Fender Place unofficially in sim, but there's a lot that has to be unpacked. Technically, it's actually Matt Cox. Captain Rumpf is amongst the top 3 behind Fender Place. Sanders, Davis, Moore, Bikey, Carr, Curry, and Kane are your technical top 10. Aaron Matthews, while it shows 10th here, in reality, I believe is 11th, depending on what happens in post-race reviews, if any.
And we have Johnny Shade, Shane Wyatt, Nigel Christensen rounding out the lead lap there. You see Matt Cox there. It's that one lap down. That's a preliminary result. He was the first across the line. Obviously, a black flag triggered that after the race. And then the first drivers to actually finish a lap down this evening were Alex Coffey, Kyle Holden, Blaine Wilson, and Paul Gallimore, followed by Ryan Huff and Tim Wortman Jr.
Then right behind him in 21st spot on our tickers, Timothy Harper, 1 lap down with Sean Rogers. Davis finished 2 down. Nicholas Atwood was leading up with Victor Pfluger, and Warren Young never started the race. So top to bottom at your running order here in this one. After a busy night from Kansas, we are still waiting for our drivers to take the opportunity to speak with us. Let me get your thoughts on things as we get the drivers in situation here. I know it's a crazy finish. I know it was a tough spot. We'll have to see what Matt Cox says here. Your thoughts on what was a busy night here from Kansas overall.
Yeah, it was just a really good show. Came down to a great finish on that rematch checker. Just a little bit of extracurriculars crossing the line, and that's where the question mark is going to be arised. We've seen things officiate in the past, so I mean, this one isn't over as of right now, Justin. We're still a question in the air as to who the winner of this race really is. I don't think we have a true official word, but unofficially, Matt Cox with another victory in the round of 12.
So let's talk to him. Matt Cox, right now, unofficially, is able to double up here in the round. Matt, First things first, talk to us about the finish as you get yourself a second win of the round.
He had such a good run out of 4. I was just going to go down and try and get in his door and stop his run. I got into him pretty good, though. I'm glad he still was able to get second out of that because, coming to the line, anything goes. I knew he wasn't going to get to me on entry there to move me out of the way, so I was just trying to get the run off the corner. Ended up getting pretty tight, and he was able to rip it. So, yeah, he was coming down the line. I just, tried to stop his run and still come away with the win after that late caution.
What about the long run play there? What went to the process of going with the 10-lap undercut and then trying to make the time stick, which it looked like it was going to stick until that late race caution?
Yeah, that was pretty calculated. I did that in another league race this week, and I was hoping they wouldn't follow suit. If I pit early enough, I'd be able to get a good gap. And thankfully they stayed out long enough. I was able to equal out, and I feel like I would have had that on the long run anyhow, but it is what it is.
That being said, now with the second trip to Vandaloy Stickers victory lane in the round, what would you say about the momentums that you've built up here? Because this is a strong run heading into the next round, at least for you with the Roval in between to that point.
Yeah, the thought process is just try to build big enough buffer to where we get to Phoenix and can avoid some hectic races with Talladega and Martinsville still to go.
So on that note, anyone who want to give a shout out to here tonight?
Shout out Sean Rogers. Great job there, driving your car super awesome and wrecking yourself there with 5 to go. Super sweet. But all jokes aside, just all the boys, B&P. Shout out Brandon, Better Place there. He had a really good run. Don't really like to win that way, but, I would expect the same thing being on the other end. So win's a win. Glad to have it.
Congratulations on the run here tonight, Matt.
Appreciate you.
Matt Cox, unofficially your race winner here tonight. Believe might still get that with the way things get sorted. Just race control is going to have to sort things out. Interesting enough, Kyle Holden, by the way, is also blaming Blaine Wilson for taking the cone out for the speeding penalty to confirm in sim the cone did get cleaned out. Brandon Fenner plays, though, more importantly, comes away in second. He's with Jeremy.
Well, Brandon, looked like you had the race off turn 4. We're definitely going to be the winner, if not for the contact with Matt Cox there. Just what do you have to say about the finish coming to the line right there with the 32?
I have a lot to say, but I'll try to keep it PG. I was going to run him clean like I told him. I'm sure we'll have a conversation about it. I do my best to race everybody clean. And so, I had a big run right there, coming off of 4, and I knew it was going to be tight, but I did not expect the door banging like it. It knocked the wheel out of my hand, knocked me down into the grass. So I'm not too pleased. Like I said, I have a lot to say, but I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, definitely understandable. Obviously all drivers would be frustrated in that situation as well, but it was a really up and down night for you still. P2 is a good result. I obviously does not make up for having the win stripped away there at the end, but 2-tire call at the end there. Can you just take me through the restart, like what every move you had to make to at least put yourself in position where you had the chance coming to the line right there?
I'm actually really surprised. There was a lot of people that came down with me, and I took the 2 tires, made an adjustment, and I really didn't know what it was going to do, and it fired off and it took right off. And then it seemed like, on the restart, the inside lane went, the outside lane didn't. And I was just driving the wheels off of it, just trying to get to the front before there was another caution or before I got wrecked. but it was, it was a fun race. Tonight was it was a pretty tough night, especially from the very get-go there. I still got to go back and watch that. Somebody below me lost it and killed Barry and I right off the rip. So it was a fight all night. And then to come out P2, I can't be too angry, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely saw you fighting back all night, especially after that early incident. But moving next week into the Roval, not really a track where anybody can feel comfortable, but you're coming out a little bit further ahead of the cut line than you were coming into tonight. Do you feel good about your chances next week, or do you think you're still going to have to fight and claw to get into the round of 8?
Yeah, these guys are so fast. I mean, every single race is a fight. And, I'm happy that I got more points tonight, and I'm probably a little bit better off than I was coming into this race. But, anything can happen. The Roval's a tough racetrack. I like road courses, but we have like I said, we have really, really fast drivers in here. So, it'll just be another fight, and hopefully we come out on top and make it to the round of 8.
Well, congratulations on another strong run, and we hope we can see you finish one better next week.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, and that's going to be it with Brandon Fetterplace, our second place finisher tonight, and Justin is going to catch up with Kevin Ruff, who had a strong run at P3.
Yes, indeed, Kevin. Once again, a nice night for you. Almost got yourself your highest running non-super speedway finish, but you still put together a strong performance. How do you describe your run in the 14?
Well, I ran out of talent 2 times. Got a car behind me that was really fast late in the runs in the first 2 stages and just lost it. So for that, I'm thankful that I didn't total my car. But right there at the end, it was a rocket. I had made no adjustments until that last pit stop. So a lot of stupid stuff going on with other drivers and stuff throughout the night, had to avoid. There was just everything. People getting BMP'd, people getting digged. Just people driving over their heads. But we survived it, and here we are talking to you.
Yeah, again, how would you describe this momentum here? Because technically, I know you missed the cut line for the postseason. You've had runs that would put you amongst the top 12, if not potentially in the conversation with the top 8. What's kind of feelings knowing you've put together some of your best racing in the postseason so far?
I definitely had some momentum. We had bad luck at the beginning of the season, and thank God I got a good team. Tim and everybody, they could tell I was frustrated. Just things that happened that was out of my hands, and it's starting to show now that I ain't top 5 quickest in here, but I'm definitely top 10 quickest. I put a lot of work into this and enjoy it, as a hobby. And then we just switched over to, Ryko setups for my car. Proud to be a partner with them. They make a really good setup. And it's just been a game changer for me, man.
So again, how do you feel about the Roval coming up? How do you feel about your road course racing skills now with that Ryko setup?
I still don't feel very confident on that stuff. I still got some seat time to do. If I get a top 10, it's a win to me. But obviously, when you've got a premier setup like that, you want to be able to push yourself harder. So definitely putting in some seat time privately before I get in any of the officials for iRacing this week to try to get some practice in for this race next week. But yeah, I feel pretty confident going into it, just be able to get a top 10. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I'm not in the playoffs. I love destroying in other people's playoffs right now. That's the fun thing about being outside is you see these people that are trying to move on, and when you got a faster car than them and can, change the scoreboard on it, it's fun to do.
So anyone you want to give a shout out to here tonight?
My teammates, just Tim and everybody over at Warrior. Shout out to Ryko. They're phenomenal. Jameson, we miss you, brother. You don't know how bad we want to win a race for you. I think about him every freaking race in the series. We're trying to do everything we can for him. So we missed Chris tonight. Spear was out. So miss you, brother. And let's take the momentum and let's go in the next week.
Congrats on the run here tonight with the top 3.
Thank you.
Captain Ruff gets himself a top 3 run here tonight. Like, think our top 3 for speaking with us during post-race coverage here on Precision Production Network. Next race is going to be at the Charlotte Roval next week. Again, start time for our coverage approximately 8:05-ish Eastern time, race time by 8:10. It should be an interesting night when we go there. But again, your final thoughts tonight, Jeremy, after a wild finish.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a really intense race all around. Matt Cox had it won before that caution, poking some fun at his teammate there, Sean Rogers, and it just didn't want to take it from him. And he made sure of that and put Fetter Place down there against the grass on the apron, hard racing for the win. And, you know, just you got to hope when you do stuff like that, it doesn't come back to bite you later in the season with the guys in a spot where they can do something to affect you.
See what happens next time out for the drivers. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage here at the Precision Production Network. I'd like to thank everyone as well for Moonshiners for tonight's coverage, as well as OB Builders Cup Series, the race they put on tonight. For our co-announcer Jeremy Miller, for DJ Lyon, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the Corridor Automotive 300 from Kansas Speedway. Congratulations to Matt Cox. Able to take the checker flag and pick up the win here at Kansas.